Drink beer, it's good for you. I'm empty-handed and I'm feeling blue, and I'm gonna drink till the day that I die.
Hi and welcome to the video. In this video I will be brewing a Belgian Black Stout, and man is it black. Here's my label for the beer. As you can see, I'm calling it Belgian oil. Seems very fitting. So here's the recipe for this one, and as usual I'll be including this in the YouTube description. One of the things I really love about stout as a style is that it really has infinite possibilities. There are really so many tastes and flavours and ideas that can go into a stout recipe, and this one certainly isn't any different. Please do note that if you do use the same mangrove Jack's yeast that I've listed in this recipe, that in my experience the attenuation rate for this yeast is far higher than listed by the manufacturer. This of course will result in an increased alcohol content. So let's pick up the brew. So my strike water has reached the temperature, and I'm just going in now by adding all of the grains to my water. The important thing here is to add gradually and stir as you go. This is essential for the right type of efficiency. There's actually quite a lot of grain in this recipe, and being a 23 litre batch also, I was in indecision really whether I should actually do this as 2 mashes or just 1. I did actually just do 1, and my efficiency was okay, but it's very borderline. To split it into 2 mashes would have been far safer. So we have all of the grain now in, and this is the final mix round, and yeah, I think we have a little bit too much water in here for the right consistency, but I'm going to run with it. I'm sure it'll be fine. So we're quite high up on the kettle for a 23 litre batch. I've been this high up on a 25, but nevertheless I think it will be okay. So it's just a case now of adding that mash plate and all of the other parts. I'm going quite deep into the mash now, but that's really essential to get the right efficiency. You can't have that plate just floating on top, and on goes my trusty sink strainer. So onto the mash schedule now, and basically we have 60 minutes at 65°C or 149 Fahrenheit, and then 10 minutes at 75°C or 167 Fahrenheit. Quite a simple mash schedule, but this is a stout of course. So while I'm waiting for the mash, it's time to prepare all of my boil ingredients. Here we have the coriander. I've got a normal bag just over the top while I'm crushing it here to stop it flying all over the place. This stuff gets really lively when you crack it. Right, okay, so as you can see here I've prepared the majority of my additions ready for the boil. What you didn't see there is my trusty beer nutrient, which I use in all of my brews. And the star of the show in this brew will be Mangrove Jack's M41 Belgian Ale yeast. It's a real beast. Speaking of beasts, look how black that is. Well, I did say it was a black stout, didn't I? And I wasn't kidding. Absolutely beautiful. Everybody in the house while I was brewing this could smell this one, I can tell you. Absolutely fantastic smells. So the mash is now over, and here's my trusty sink strainer. As you can see, it's done a nice job again. The mash plate itself actually captured quite a lot of grain on this one too. Okay, so now onto the sparge, and this is something that really can help with your efficiency. I would suggest that you sparge as evenly as you possibly can. Even divide that mash plate up into zones and hit each zone. Make sure that every single part of that grain, including the edges, is covered with your sparge water. Your efficiency will thank you for it. One thing that I like to do after the sparge is just grab from a random location a handful of grain and give it a taste. If you taste anything that is remotely sweet, then you know that you need to mash more. I always leave my grain basket on until about 95 degrees, and then I put a plastic bag on top, as you can see here. I then flip it into a fermentation bucket. You then have all of your grain in a bag, ready to make some cakes or ready just to throw it in the trash. By the way, today's brewing music is provided by the excellent U2. I usually brew to something far heavier than this, but today I felt for some U2, so there it is. So I've got my spray bottle and my trusty brewing spoon in hand, and I'm waiting for this hop break, as we call it here. This is basically protein that raises on top as you bring the brew up to boil. The important thing here is to actually stir it all back into the brew. So the purpose immediately is to actually remove as much of this head as we possibly can before we start adding our hops. What I personally do is I clean the top of the brew before I actually start counting the minutes of the boil. So in this case I do have a 60-minute addition. I won't actually start timing until the head is clear, and then I put the first hop addition in, and that is basically the 60-minute. So here you can see that most of that top protein or foam has now been removed, and it's now time to start thinking about actually starting the boil in terms of the counting of minutes. So in goes my 60-minute hop addition. The important thing now is to give that a really nice stir up so that those hops can do their job. I now start the timer for the 60-minute boil. You will find that during the boil you will need to clean the top quite a few times. The important thing to do while you're doing this is give the bottom a scrape. This basically assures that there will be no problems with the grainfather tripping out because of things stuck to the bottom. So I'm now at the stage of the boil where I need to start adding my candy sugar, so I'm using a ladle to put some hot boiling wort onto the actual candy sugar, and I'm going to give that candy sugar a real good mix up. And this basically makes sure that you start melting the candy sugar in advance of it hitting the kettle. So in it goes now to the boil. And now the sugar's in, it's very important to stir it at the bottom. You will find that there are some small pieces, you do not want them to stick to the bottom. That will give you a very undesirable result and also make the whole thing far harder to clean at the end. So it's now time to add our two different types of orange peel, sweet and bitter. It's important to have that balance, and also our pre-crushed coriander. All of these items would be available at any good local homebrew store, and I would certainly urge you to support your local homebrew store rather than the cheaper online retailers. Having a local homebrew store obviously has some great emergency advantages. You could of course use the peel from store-bought oranges, but it's quite difficult to get sweet and bitter oranges from one place. So often it's a lot cheaper and more convenient just to buy these pre-packaged versions that you'll find in homebrew stores. Coriander on that matter will obviously be available in most places. When you add such additions, I'd recommend that you stir them in at least for a few minutes. And then at the very end of the beer brew, at 0 minutes, what I always do, irrespective of style, is give everything a really good whirlpool. Again, for a few minutes. It really does depend. If there are 0-minute hops in there as well, then maybe I'll do a hop stand for longer. It just depends on the result that I'm looking for. Whirlpooling techniques are very good for merging all of the flavours of a beer together, but the other thing, and particularly with a pump-based system like the Grainfather, is that all of the solids, all of those hops that are sitting at the bottom there, they will get pushed to the middle in a cone effect, and that takes pressure away from the pump. So with the brew now done, it's now time to actually chill this wort right down, and as you can see here on my Blickman through meter, I'm down to 2122. I managed to bring the wort down to this temperature rather quickly, and the way that I did this was to use the red valve that you see there on the circulation pipe. By turning the valve, you manage to actually restrict the flow of the wort. What this basically does is all of the water that's going through the counterflow chiller can then cool down a smaller amount of wort passing through the chambers far quicker. This does naturally mean that the amount of wort that's flowing into your fermentation vessel is smaller, but as you continue on with the chilling process, you will be able to increase the flow rate without it affecting the temperature too much. It's one of those things that really you just have to keep an eye on, and having an aftermarket mod like the Black Malt meter there allows you to do that. If you're new to my videos, you'll also notice that I've suspended the wort out pipe up to the ceiling, thus giving the wort a lot more oxygen as it hits the fermentation vessel. Happy yeast. I generally wait for about half of the wort to hit the fermentation vessel before I actually put the yeast in. And with this setup there's really no need to wait, I just pitch it directly in. The important thing once you've pitched it is then to put the wort directly onto it, and yeah, this is very easy. Just move the fermentation bucket freely with your hand and just make sure that all of that yeast gets wet, and everything will be good. So we're just finishing up now, putting the rest of the wort into the fermentation vessel, and as you can see we've got a nice amount of oxygen into this brew. This will make the yeast very happy indeed. So I've now connected the temperature controller, which is controlling the brew belt that you see at the bottom there, and the putter you see there underneath is the temperature probe. Because this is a stout and they usually like to be on the ceiling if you fit a normal airlock, I've actually put a blow off to this. So this is very simple, just a bit of hose into a glass with some Star San or sanitizer of some sort, and all will be good. So within an hour or so we have a fermentation, but then all of a sudden she took off, just as the stouts really love to. And can you imagine how this would be in an airlock? you would be picking it up off the floor because it would have hit the ceiling and dropped right down. So yeah, if you're brewing a stout, forget the airlock. Just build up a little system like this. If you want to put the airlock on later when things calm down, then you can do that if you need the reassurance of some bubbling, but personally I tend to leave these on all the way. I know it's going to quieten down after a few days. I'm quite happy with that, but do as you will. So that's it for this one. Sorry it was a bit longer than my usual video. I do try to compress these down as much as I can, but I think there were some very important points raised in this particular video. So I do hope that you enjoyed watching this video. I certainly enjoy brewing this beer and making the video for you. If you did enjoy it, then please do consider liking it on YouTube. This actually really helps me out and helps get other people to see my videos too. I have a lot of videos planned for the future, and one of those is that I'm being sent a pre-release version of the new Grainfather controller, the Grainfather Connect. So if you are interested in seeing that video and my future content, then why not subscribe, and then you'll get a notification as soon as new videos come out from me. I don't know about you, but I'm really excited about the extra functionality that Grainfather Connect is going to give me. And from what I was told today, it seems that it will be with me actually quite soon. So yeah, exciting times. So until the next time, happy brewing!